Here we are finally at the long awaited, at least for me personally, episode 7. I decided to do this series around episode 6, and when I saw the preview for the episode 7, I was absolutely shocked. I could not believe it because I kind of knew how much we were going to skip. And we did skip a lot. So let's go ahead and talk about all these little details that we missed out in the anime for Sword Art Online Alicization Season 3, Episode 7. The first thing that is extremely huge that we miss is the life on the farm for both Kirito and Yujiro. Now, it doesn't seem like it's anything huge, and for the most part, it isn't. They basically stay with this family who has twin daughters. They help them with their life on the farm. They make it a lot easier for this family, and in return, they have a place to stay, they got some food, and they get a little bit of payment. Also, in that meantime, they do get the opportunity to hone their sword skills, as we see Yujiro say that in the anime. The biggest takeaway that we do not get is there is a little bitty spider in Kirito's hair. Now, this spider isn't just like your average spider. You find it on the wall or on the floor or something, and then you just squat and boom, it's dead. This spider is actually a little summoned pet by somebody we don't know yet. Now, it's very important because this pet spider's job is to literally monitor Kirito and Yujiro 24/7. No matter what they do, no matter where they go, this spider's sole job, its only job, is to keep watch over these two. Not in a good way and not in a bad way. It's literally just to monitor them because they are kind of different. There's something different about Kirito that the spider's master has noticed, and the master kind of said, hey, I want you to keep an eye on them, and so this spider is doing so. Now, we get to see that this spider has the ability to talk. It says, hey, I shouldn't really mess too much with these fellas, as I wasn't told to help them or hurt them, I was told to watch them. So we do get a little bit of insight from what this spider's objective is, and we do realize, hey, there's somebody that has a higher power that's, watching over Kirito and Yujiro. Who is it? I don't know. Well, I'm not going to tell you. So that will be released at a later date, and that's something that is going to be absolutely insane. Now, going from the farm, I think they stay there for maybe 6 months to a year. Let's say it's somewhere in that area. It gives them enough time to save up money so they can go to Zakaria, because it's a little bit of an expensive place. Then it also allows them to train their swordsmanship, so that way when they go to the tournament, they can potentially win the tournament and then hopefully enroll into the school academy that they want to go to. That we do see as soon as the episodes start, they're already in it. So the second thing that I do want to talk about is the swordsmanship tournament. Now, Kirito and Yujiro, when they first arrive at Zakaria, there is something very particular that happens, and this kind of helps build and shape, kind of gives us an understanding for, hey, these are how the rules are, and they're actually a little bit different depending on your perspective. Now, when they go to Zakaria, the first thing that happens is there's this huge little mosquito fly bug type thing that comes in and lands on a horse's butt and decides to just chomp on it, man. Now, this little mosquito bug does not live in this area. It's actually supposed to live to the swamps of some other different direction or different region. I can't remember which way, but it doesn't even belong here. Now, it's very odd that this happens, but for some odd reason, it happens. So Kirito and Yujiro decide, hey, we're gonna, tag team the horse. We're gonna squat this bug and make sure nobody gets hurt because of this horse. So they decide to do that. Now, Kirito, as soon as they, tag team the horse, Yujiro gets, the front side, Kirito gets the back side to get the bug off of it. Kirito decide, he kind of sees something, and he's like, he sees a person that's acting a little suspicious. So they don't really think much of it. Now they go into the place where they're supposed to register for the tournament. And what do we have here? We have one side lined up on this wall, one side of people lined up on the other wall, and all of these people are going to participate for this tournament. Now, Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh, they decide, if they do get placed on the same side of the bracket, that's going to be a huge problem, because then that only means one of them will be able to go into the garrison and have an opportunity to go into the school. Now, this is where that spider comes into play. The spider actually does have a little bit of power, and as spiders do, he decides, hey, if I'm going to continue watching them, I need to make sure that they at least get on different sides of the bracket. I'm not going to make it super easy, but I'm going to make sure they at least get different sides. So the spider decides, hey, he's going to crawl into the little box where the numbers are going to be drawn. So, you put your hand in the box, you pick out a number, and it has a specific color, and that goes onto what side that the side of the bracket that you're going to be on. Now, while the spider is doing spider things, Kirito notices the same person from earlier that he thought was suspicious. This guy was kind of a guy that's, he's very like jittery. Nobody's really talking to him. He kind of stinks a little bit, and it's something that is very off-putting. Why is it that this guy isn't, he's not calm and he's not nervous? There's a different type of aura. And Kirito looks to Yu-Gi-Oh and he says, no matter what happens, I do not want you to face that guy. You let me handle him. And so, as it continues, the spider goes into the box. Everybody starts walking up there. They start pulling their sides and their numbers. Kirito, I believe, goes and then he pulls out a number. He gets onto one side. And then Yu-Gi-Oh, as we know, gets onto the other side. It was a lot of help from the spider, because the spider actually made sure to give them a particular ball just so that they would be on other sides. And then the spider says, hey, I don't care who they go against. That's not my problem. I just needed to make sure they're on different sides. So the spider returns back up to Kirito's hair. Now, from this point of view, we see the spider being able to see up close in person the fight that is about to happen. When Kirito goes up against this fella, who we see he breaks his sword in the anime while they're doing the little flashback, the spider is kind of nervous. He's like, Chief, I don't know about that one. I don't know if this is the right move. But Kirito, in all honesty, was more than prepared. He kind of questioned him and he said, hey, was it you that released that little bug on us? And he goes, yeah, that bug doesn't harm humans, but, if it does, whatever the horse does, that's not my problem. Now, see, the thing is with this type of thinking, this kind of goes against the taboo index. You are not supposed to intentionally hurt or take away someone's life force. Now, by him releasing that fly and it going onto that horse, yes, it is potentially, if that horse hits somebody, it's his fault that he damaged somebody, that the horse damaged somebody's life points. It's technically his fault. But because of his perspective, he said, all I did was release a fly. I ain't do nothing wrong. Now, that is the way that you could almost loophole the taboo index and many different rules that people in the underworld have to abide by. One different analogy that we can use is I have been playing the game League of Legends on my stream, twitch.tv/Tuglo. Now, in that game, you have skill shots. This is a very easy analogy to understand. This is how we'll put it. I throw out a skill shot and I miss. Did I miss my skill shot or did they dodge it? It's the same thing happening. I missed it. But was it my miss and then I messed it up? Or was it them outplaying me and them doing really good? Now, depending on the skill shot, depending on the situation, you could kind of tell, oh, that was my mistake, or, oh man, they really outplayed me. It's that type of perspective that allows you to kind of loophole your way out of the taboo index. Now, if you do, 100%, just straight up kill somebody, like, that's gonna be kind of hard to get away with. But for things like this, we kind of see this dude that Kirito breaks the sword. We kind of see that, hey, it is possible to break rules. And this is another huge thing that I really feel, man, it just takes away, man. It takes away from a lot of the nice little world building aspects that we get. And, we get to kind of understand, it's like taking a piece of cake and saying, all right, here's your cake. It's an Oreo cake. All right. Now, you get to taste the Oreo cake, but you don't get to look at it and you don't get to smell it. All you do is get to taste the Oreo cake. Now, in the light novel, we get to look at the Oreo cake, we get to smell it, we get to kind of analyze it from all these different types of perspectives, and that's kind of what we're getting we're kind of getting that taken away from us in the anime, because we don't get to see and appreciate these little, small, fine details. Now, the third thing that I do want to talk about is their acceptance into the academy. It wasn't anything that was particularly, oh man, they finally did it. No, all they did, they just came in there, they went into the tournament, they whooped up on a bunch of people, bada bing, bada boom. Now, with them being accepted into there, we do notice that there are elite disciples and there are pages to those disciples. Now, it's very important that we know that Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh are considered to be from a commoner's background. A lot of people that live in Zakaria are going to be upper middle class, or they're going to be upper class type of people. We can see that in Rayos and Humbert, I believe were their names. They actually, you could tell they've kind of got a little bit of a presence and aura to them that kind of makes you say, why do you feel like you're always, on a high horse compared to everybody else? Well, that's just because of the place that they grew up in and their background. Technically, they are royalty in a sense because they are on that higher food chain status. Now, it is kind of important that we do notice that Lena and Golgorosa, who are the second and third seats, I believe second and third respectively, choose commoners as their pages. That's not something that's, that's not really something heard of. Typically, a higher up person is going to pick a higher up person, but for different reasons. Sortalina, as we see, she's like, yo, I really liked what I was seeing out of you. I don't care what background you're from. There's something that I feel that's special about you, and I'm gonna train with you. And so she chooses him. Golgorosa has his own reasons and chooses Yu-Gi-Oh. Could have chosen anybody, but it be like that. These things are the major things that I feel like, or I wish, could have been in the anime, but again, due to pacing, they just weren't able to put it into the anime. But I feel like these little details, these little insights are things that we could have used to kind of help us say, hey, that makes sense why this happens like this, or why things flow this way. Another thing that is important, why I mentioned Humbert and Rayos, or whatever their names were, are considered royalty, is because there are some laws that actually do not even apply to them. If you're of XYZ status, these laws down here don't apply to you, and you're technically considered a judge in some cases. So that way, if something happens to you, it doesn't even matter if you go to court or not, dude, you're gonna win just because of your status. So things like that aren't shown in the anime, but they are shown in the light novel, and I feel are extremely important. Now let's go ahead and get on with the actual episode. As we go through the episode, we're traveling very quickly through book 10. We sped through so much because of the little time skip. I believe at the end of this episode, we're around the 75 to 80% point of completing this book. Everything almost to a T is in line with the book, except for one area. That one area is going to be where Kirito gets his sword from the metalsmith. Now, he gets his sword, and as they head back to the dorm, Kirito and Yu-Gi-Oh are talking, but Kirito has to he has to register his sword into the files for the school, because you know you don't want to have an unregistered gun in the real world, so he doesn't want to have an unregistered sword in the school, because hey, you know, whose sword is this? Who's going to take responsibility for it? Why do you have it? You know, all of these different things. Everybody's allowed one weapon, but he has to at least put it on file. So he goes in and he sees Miss Azurika. She comes in and she says, okay, well, just fill out this file and everything will be okay. As he's doing it, we do notice a few things. His sword's object level or object authority is 1 point higher than Yu-Gi-Oh's Blue Rose sword. Also, at this point in time, his sword has no name. All he calls it is the Black Sword. He doesn't want to rename it the same thing as his sword in SAO because, number one, it'd be kind of weird. Two, he'd kind of feel a little disrespectful towards the new sword and the old sword. And three, he's just going to let the name come to him naturally. As far as we're concerned, up to this point in time, it is still going to be called the Black Sword. Now, we do know that it does have that one higher object authority level, and that also means that sword is going to feel a little bit heavy towards Kirito. But as we do remember, or we do recall, in Season 1, when he asks Lisbeth to make a sword, that he asks specifically that the sword is as heavy as he can make it because he does like heavier swords. This sword is perfectly made to his liking. It's a little bit heavier and it's not something super light, so this is perfect for our boy Kirito. Now, one thing that I do want to mention is when Azurika is reading over the file that Kirito just, you know, wrote down so he could get it done, she asks a very particular question. Do you know this sword's memory? And Kirito just kind of sits there and he's like, the sword's memory? What do you mean? He doesn't quite understand, and she just quickly says, it's nothing, don't worry about it. Now, obviously, this is something he's going to ponder on, but basically, it would kind of be like saying, do you know what the sword's origin is? Do you know where it came from? Do you know its story? Now, if I were to take this little pen right here, this is a Pearl Abyss pen, I would say, you know, I turn it in and I would say, do you know of this sword, this pen's story? You know, I got this pen from TwitchCon. That is part of its story. But do I know where it was made from? Do I know what it went through? What it, you know, did it go through a lot of extremely cold winters outside or in some factory? Or did it stay in somebody's cozy, warm apartment and then it was packaged and then given to me? That's kind of the story or the memory that Azurika was referring to. Obviously, Kirito doesn't really know too much, and in this point in time, he does not know what his sword's memory is. Now, I knew going into this episode 7 was going to have a lot of things missing, and I knew that this video was going to be extremely long. So if you did make it to this part of the video, I do want to say this is all that I have. Everything else up to this point leads in perfectly. You know, they go right into the fight. Sordelina and Yu-Gi-Oh rush in like, yo, is everything cool, dude? What's going on, man? Why are you fighting this dude? Everything that they did up to there, aside from skipping Kirito's registry for his sword, is done to a T. I just wanted to let us all in on that 2-year gap that we kind of time skip. So thank you so much for watching this video. I really do hope you enjoyed it, and I hope it finds you well. Don't forget, I also do stream on twitch.tv/Tuglo. I do play Girls Frontline and League of Legends. I might be looking into other games here soon. I'm not too sure. If you do want to stop by, I do stream on Monday, Tuesdays, Thursdays, Fridays, and Saturdays. So thank you so much for watching. I really do appreciate it. I hope this video found you well. Much love, God bless, and peace out.